Game one. That's the nothing personal word of the day. I had 5 choices today. We have plenty to talk about, and I just have to start. The NBA Finals started. Adam Silver spoke to the media. Can't wait to talk to you about that. The Yankees have an injury problem. So does MLB. Baseball's in London. Quite exciting. And all of it pales in comparison to what happened to me in a conversation with Coca yesterday. And I'm excited. It's Friday. And in the next 49 minutes, we'll get to it all. Let's start with the NBA game. Finally, there was a game. Quite exciting to watch Stephen A. Smith walk in with security, strutting in to get a total of 30 seconds of halftime attention. The real story should have been on the court. Love what they did with Bill Walton. I'm watching the game, and all I keep thinking as I'm watching Boston, Dallas, in addition to what our pick was, which was Celtics 6.5 over Mavericks, which hit. I was thinking, when you play a 7-game series, when you lose game 1 and you're on the road, you're good. The players do not take that loss, not even 1 minute into the shower. The winning team takes that win as though, okay, that's normal. And then they've moved on to the 2 days off. What we have to do in media, I'm not going to do it, but what others will have to do is say, well, what does this tell you about the series? What does this mean going forward? What changes did you see now that you've watched one game? Everything that we said about the NBA Finals, Luka's the best offensive player on the court. Tatum and Brown versus Irving and Luka cancel each other out. And then what's going to happen with the supporting side? And then, hello, Porzingis. And there you go. One game. I think the focus on it should have been more maybe on Doris Burke. First time a woman has ever been an analyst for a championship series game. She's amazing. She's been doing it forever. So well deserving. It absolutely annoys me that it's even worthy of note. But here we are. I guess progress always has to get noted for it not to get noted. So hopefully that's the end of it being noted. How about the NBA releasing? Can I bring you inside a conversation that we have during Jewel events in baseball? We work with the network, which is Fox, and Fox flies in stars of its shows, its shoulder programming shows, not baseball related. Like if there's a sitcom on Fox or if there's a drama on Fox, and they go to baseball games and then they get sit in areas, the camera people know where they are. And then as part of the broadcast, there's certain times when you pan to the star. The Knicks do that, which we've talked about with Celebrity Row, where there's a whole big McGilly about who sits where, who pays for what, and what the Knicks ask for in return. It is the same thing during the World Series. The NBA Finals was last night, and we got Donnie Wahlberg and Mark Wahlberg. Now, Mark Wahlberg, who doesn't love Mark Wahlberg? But I was struck by the lack of stars and the list given by the NBA. You should check it out if you can find it. It's quite funny. It had a lot of football players. Jeffrey Lurie, not the former owner of the Marlins, but the current owner of the Eagles. He was on the list submitted by the NBA. And the cameras, I watched the whole game, Coca. I'm pretty sure the only time they panned to anybody was once to Mark Wahlberg. I may have missed something while I was distracted by talking on the phone or putting the show together with Coca and Sarah, but I don't know. I was struck by that. I was struck by Jimmy Butler, too. If you're a Miami fan, you're excited that he's on a commercial. Are you excited about a Jimmy Butler commercial with Bad Boys, or was that only shown in Miami? Can't be. I watched it from New York. Cut that. That was ridiculous. It's Friday. Hi, I'm David Sampson. 4869. Jimmy Butler got nationwide attention by appearing in ads with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, and it made me long for the McDonald's ads with Larry and Michael. So that was game one. There'll be a game 2. Celtics are up 1-0. The real story for me happened before the game even started. Commissioners have to meet the media. Go listen to yesterday's show. And I didn't have a list of Q&A. I was not in the room. I have no connection with any of the media members. I just know that commissioners before game 1s meet the media, or in NFL before the Super Bowl. You get prepped. There are people in the PR department. You come up with a written Q&A. You rehearse it literally on a podium with a microphone. Sometimes you just do it behind your desk drawer, chair. You go through what you know the questions are going to be. Adam Silver was ready for every single question as though it were scripted. Adam Silver did not pause, did not hesitate. His answers were spot on perfect. His only one mistake, which is amazing when you speak for 35 minutes, when he said when he said Netscape instead of Netflix. Who cares? But let's go through some subjects really interested me. And you. What would be the number one thing that you'd want to hear Adam talk about? Would it be Caitlin Clark, or would it be the media deals in Charles Barkley? I would think that people would not expect Adam Silver to talk about Caitlin Clark, but he certainly was ready when asked, and he said it's a welcome to the league moment. People may not realize that the WNBA is owned by the NBA, or that the WNBA was started by the NBA 28 years ago, or that Adam Silver was part of that starting of the league when he worked for David Stern, or that they have a huge vested interest, the NBA does, in having the WNBA be successful. And him telling everybody, welcome to the league for Caitlin Clark. However, it would be silly of us not to acknowledge that race is a factor in all of the discourse surrounding this event. And he had a perfectly logical and intelligent explanation where he simply said he believes in Caitlin Clark to protect herself. He believes in the league to work itself out through these rookie issues, but he also understands that all of the noise, because man, there's so much noise, he recognizes that's a part, and he looks forward to it not be. Doesn't that make sense? Sounds like what we all would wish, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be great if race were not what it is, where it's just full of people who are racist? Then he got into the media deals. Let's talk about the media deals. Do we have some sound from Adam Silver on that we can examine?
Complicated for several reasons. One is the advent of new platforms, particularly streaming, and the interest of streaming companies and in the traditional media companies of also carrying our games on streaming platforms. It's complicated because with multiple partners, all seeking similar assets in many cases, just figuring out the right way to balance those games as they go to different partners. And then lastly, as you said, we tend to do long-term deals. We think that's good for the stability of the league, but it means to a certain extent you're trying to predict the future, which is, of course, impossible. So part of it is a bet on the partners that we will ultimately align with, and that their ability also to adjust with the times and their willingness to continue to invest in media and also become global, which, to my earlier point, is very important to the league as well.
I want to start right there at the end about being global. He was answering a question when asked about what's happening with the TV deal, and he was going through it saying there's no deal done. He talked about his head of media rights, who was in the front row. He said literally working around the clock. Not ask anyone talking in front of the public to say literally working around the clock, because of course that man is literally not working around the clock. But I digress. When asked about the different deals, he said, I can't comment. When asked about the matching right that we've covered so often on the Sporting Class and on this show, where Turner may not lose its rights, Turner may get a small fourth package after NBC and Amazon and ABC, Disney. He said, I can't talk about the match. It's a complicated legal process. That was a planned answer. Side note, not complicated. A right to match is a right to match. You can litigate it, arbitrate it, mediate it. When the person who has the right to match says, you presented me something I literally cannot match, to which the NBA says, that was our point. Sorry, Turner. You can't be on over the air and as global as NBC and Peacock. You just can't do it. That sentence at the end of that sound was totally purposeful. Talking about and becoming global, which is very important to the league. Does that sound familiar to MLB wanting to get London, to the NFL wanting all these international games? What Adam Silver is preparing everybody for is that everything you've heard about the NBA media rights is exactly what's going to happen, but there's not going to be an announcement till after the NBA Finals. Charles Barkley can whine, complain, and wish he had more information all he wants. Employees are not owed any explanation of what the company is doing. It's nice to have it. You want to be communicated with. You feel like you're in the dark. I get it. But there is zero reason in this world, with all of social media, with all leaking, if you have to inform your employees of what you're doing strategically, you are actually hurting those employees. Adam Silver apologized to the Turner employees for the uncertainty. That's very nice of him. And I don't want to come off too hard here, although Coca can cut it so that I do, and I'm going to give him the chance to. What exactly is Adam Silver apologizing for? For the fact that there are people who work behind the scenes? Have you ever seen any company where there are layoffs, or any company where they lose a partner or lose a deal? How about people at, oh, this would have been so good. What's the name of the auto part company in Tommy Boy when they lose the business with Dan Aykroyd? I can't even. Is this really happening to me? God damn it. What about those employees? And that's a small family-owned business. They were despondent and got together. It's Somebody Auto Parts, Coca. You're not going to know it. It's from an old Callahan. Yes, that's Dan Aykroyd. When Callahan. Hold on, we'll do that again. That was funny. I'm actually being serious about what employees need to know and what they don't need to know, and how by Adam Silver acknowledging that he's sad for the Turner employees, according to David Zaslav, layoffs would not be coming if they lose the NBA because they've replaced it with some CFP. They've got NBA and NHL playoffs. They've got Major League Baseball. They've got these car racing. So there may be a movement from what you're working on. Or did you think about the fact that if Inside the NBA goes to a new network like an NBC won't be able to take all of its existing people. They're going to need more people. Or do we just realize that in life there is reallocation of assets every single day in every single company? Some people get laid off, some people get promoted, some people get reassigned, some people get retrained. It is exactly normal. Oh, it's been going on forever in every single industry. Now, I appreciate we live in a time where we have to take care of our employees and we have to be more aware of everybody's feelings. And we have to take that into account when we're at least forward facing in our decision making. But in the boardroom, whether it's sports or media or your local ladder company, customers, employees, none of us are ever brought up in the conversation. Let's do what's best for all the employees who are working behind the scenes on Inside the NBA. Yeah, that came up a lot during the negotiation. Let's take care of all the people who won't have access to premium streaming services. Yeah, that came up a lot during the negotiation. You think that Roger Goodell, Adam Silver, Rob Manfred, you think they care about your access? No, They are getting the most money they can for their owners, so their teams increase in value and they get extensions and bonuses. And God love them, that's how they should be acting. It is not their responsibility to look out for everybody else and their level of ability to get streaming services. I'm sorry. Not sorry. What about expansion? That was a good one. Adam Silver took a statement directly from the commissioner's playbook on how to talk about expansion. You have to say it's not a done deal. You have to say you're just examining it, you're studying it, you're going to commission a study, and you're going to appoint a committee. Everybody does that. Then you have to talk about, we're very aware of dilution. We got to be very, very careful. We're very aware. And then in the back of your head, you're thinking, all right, you know you want to go to Vegas. You know that Seattle is jonesing for a team after having lost the Supersonics to OKC. Dear communities, don't lose your teams because you'll spend 4 times as much trying to get them back. Can we talk about international play? All these leagues doing it. Can we talk about the fact that the Packers are playing in Brazil? And I read, and now we're going to get to this later. I believe that maybe what I read is wrong, Matt. So help me. Is it true that the Packers can't wear green during the Brazil game because of gang colors? Now that I'm thinking about it, that can't be true. That is absolutely ridiculous. But I read that. NFL goes to London. But now the focus is on the Mets and Phillies. How excited are you that Saturday and Sunday there are 2 games in London? Did you even know? Phillies are the best team in baseball. The Mets are the greatest show on earth. Negatively. MLB sends scores of people. Do we have a picture of the team store in London with Jake Reed on it? Look at that. That is how they're promoting in London on front of the team store. Look closely. If you're not on YouTube, then you can't look. You're not on the network. Who is that? That's not Lindor. That's not Alonso. That's Adam Ottavino. All right, he's on the team. Jake Reed. Huh? That can't be Jake Reed. Jake Reed's not on the team anymore, folks. He hasn't been on the team since 22. What in the holy heck is going on? How does that pass? You gotta love the London people buying the New York Philly shirts. That's on the assumption that there's local people going to the games, which of course there's going to be announcement. All the leagues do this. MLB will do it. They will announce the attendance. 55,000 people in attendance at London Stadium, and 82% were from London. Of course, that's the announcement. So that's why they come up with this stuff, because the London people don't know Jake Reed from Oliver Reed, Robert Reed, both the player and the actor, J.R. Reed, J.R. Ewing, J.R. Richards. Anyone else? That's it? No more JRs? So they do swag, thinking that local people don't root for the Mets or the Phillies, so they'll wear a shirt with both as a way to promote the fact that they are loving MLB. So our studies would tell us that when you're trying to build your sport globally, you've got to attach it to a player. Yao Ming, China. Shohei Ohtani, Ichiro, Japan. Stephon Marbury, China. You attach to a player. Kobe Bryant, another great example. I've never seen anyone, and I went to the Giants game in London. I've been to the London games twice. I went to the first NFL game in London, Giants-Dolphins, back in the day. Don't remember when that was. Maybe 07 is my guess, if my long-term memory doesn't fail me. Who are the stars? Sell me the stars. I'm fascinated by how baseball is positioning this. Absolutely fascinated by it. So they'll play these 2 games. They send out Chris Marinak to speak, who's MLB Chief Operations and Strategy Officer. Very, very smart. I worked with him for many years. He's out there trying to be the public face of this series, and he wants everyone to understand how important London is because the NFL already has the lead, and the NFL is trying to crush MLB and NBA, but just assume that they have. But if you're MLB, you don't quit. So you say MLB is so important. London is so important. In my time, we were trying to get games in Paris, trying to get games in Amsterdam, and we could not get a promoter. We could not get a deal done that made financial sense. We could not get it approved by the international committee or the owners at large. The only thing that was able to get done was London. So it was the tail wagging the dog where we would then say, hey, London is our market. But it came totally backwards. And in sports, you want to see if you can have an association of a country and a player. Why is baseball popular in the Dominican? Because they're Dominican players. And Dominican players make it to the major leagues. Same with Venezuela. Same with San Juan. Why do you think baseball plays in San Juan all the time? Except they don't make any money doing it. When the Expos were playing blocks of games in San Juan, when the Marlins, when other teams would go and play one-off games, the amount of money made is bupkis because the promoter who puts on the games, the average ticket price is low. The ability to maximize any sort of media rights or incremental media rights to garner an increased level of interest in the U.S. de minimis. But MLB would vote and say, hey, it's not going to be great, but we have to pretend. We have to keep pushing internationally. We have to do some spring training games in Mexico. Let's do some regular season games. Bring the Padres down. Let's bring the Yankees over to London and let's see how that goes. Now we'll see how the Cubs and Cardinals do. All right, let's move on to the Phillies and Mets. We are expanding our brand. Who are the local people in the UK attracted to within MLB? There hasn't been a player of UK descent in Major League Baseball for 6 years. $1 if you could name them. That's what we've all been waiting for with all these clinics and all the money that we would spend as an industry. We're trying to get a player. Because with a player, you get an association with a league, and then you start getting attention and real money. This is an absolutely overly expensive ego play, not unlike, and I love that MLB does this, and we were a part of the first one. We went to Fort Bragg and played a game at Fort Bragg. It was a brainchild of Rob and Tony and others back in, 10 years ago, it's got to be. There is a game played one in Omaha where the Little League World Series is in Williamsport, excuse me. Where's the game this year, Coca? I want to say, and please forgive my embarrassment here. I just don't have it at the tip of my head. We're live. We don't have a prompter, and we're very small. It's just the three of us. Is it Branchwood, Rickwood? I can't think of it off the top of my head because it's Friday, and we are 26 minutes away from Loverboy. But MLB is always willing to spend money when it comes to socially conscious games, socially conscious events, things that are really cool within the boundaries of the US. When they are outside of the US, it is much more a financial proposition when it comes to choosing where to play internationally. The owners need to see that it is profitable. It is Rickwood. It's a tribute to the Negro Leagues. It's MLB at Rickwood Field. Thank you, Coca, for saying that. And I can't believe I got that. You can edit out my surprise in getting it because I want to be able to say MLB, when they go to Rickwood Field and do a tribute to the Negro Leagues, they're not looking at that from a P&L standpoint. Owners will allow only a few things to not be subject to P&L. Games in London have become that, which is a very big surprise to me and something that I don't think will actually last. When things are going well with your team, there tends to be a sky is falling employee or executive. It can be the GM. It can be an assistant to the GM. Some of them are team presidents. Sometimes it's the owner. When things are going badly, there's the sun will come out tomorrow employee. And as president of a team, you have to know who to speak to when in order to keep your motivation up, in order to do what's right for your team, to continue. Baseball seasons are really long. The Yankees have the best or second best record in baseball with the Phillies, certainly the best record in the American League. They've been cruising even without Garrett Cole. Yesterday, there was a rain delay during their game. And during the rain delay, it was discovered that Juan Soto would not be put back in the game. And then the Yankees were forced to announce that Juan Soto was removed with a left forearm discomfort. The way that works behind the scenes is that during any sort of rain delay, the staff member traveling with the team, whether it's the GM, the AGM, their job, when I was traveling with the team as team president, I'm down in the clubhouse during the rain delay, either hanging out in the manager's office, hanging out in the clubhouse manager's office, just around, meeting with the umpires if it's a home game, meeting with the grounds crew if it's a home game. So clearly you're getting an update from your team if something's going on. What we found out yesterday is that Soto has been having this forearm discomfort for a while. He could always play. And baseball players have injuries during the course of a season. They play every day. Some players have a higher pain tolerance than others. It turns out that Juan Soto has a pretty high pain tolerance. But during the rain delay, they finally made the decision, hey, we're shutting you down. We're not putting you back in the game. And we're going to send you for an MRI. When you make that decision, the first call that's made is to your head of player development, because you need to bring up a player and that player needs to be ready to go for the next day's game because there's no break in baseball. When there's an injury during a game, you have with you at all times all of your minor league affiliates, where they are playing. You have a list of who is on your roster. You have a list of by position, by salary, and you make a call to your head of player development and say, Soto hurt. We're going to need somebody. Jason Dominguez, how about him? All right, we're agreeing to him. Get word to the manager of that game that he's currently playing in and pull him from the game. We did that all the time during the season. It's better to know before a game starts for the pitcher, for a starting pitcher, where you don't have the pitcher start. And we would often delay a minor league pitcher starting a game if we even thought there was a chance that we were going to call up that starter in the next day or two, because we didn't want that pitcher to be wasted for the next 4 days, because we don't care about the minor league results. For a bullpen arm, you can call during the game and say, hey, don't get this guy hot. He's a candidate to be called up. For a position player, when they're in the game, you say, bring him out of the game because we don't want him getting hurt in a minor league game. We want him available to come to the big leagues. That's the first call. The second call is to the traveling secretary. Dominguez needs a flight from blank to blank. Third call, clubhouse manager. Dominguez needs his locker ready for tomorrow. So it's a pretty much scripted event, except when you're one of the executives, oh, the sky's falling. You have to go find the executive who says the sun will come out tomorrow because things are going so well for the Yankees. And then you have to think about the possibility that Soto is hurt and could be out for a significant period of time. I personally would not wait for the MRI until today. I would want him in the MRI booth immediately, whether we were home or on the road, don't care. Get me the images, get it to the doctor. Let's find out what we're dealing with. My patience level was 0. But for the Yankees, I guess they're going to wait till today, and we will monitor, stay in touch. Maybe at David P. Sampson on Twitter, we'll talk about what the results are, because the Yankees will have to announce a roster move if Soto's not available. Could be Dominguez. Maybe Soto will just miss a day or two and they don't want to make a roster move. We'll wait to see what they do. All right, when we come back, we're going to review a true crime documentary, and then I'm going to tell you a story of what happened to me yesterday and why it's happening to you too. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's Friday, June 7th, 2024. We are live at 8 a.m. every day on the Nothing Personal with David Sampson YouTube channel. If it's too early for you, thank you for downloading the audio show or just watching anytime you want to, including at 10 a.m. on the DraftKings Network. DavidSampsonPodcast.com. We are Coca. Are you aware of this? We are 18 days away from a live show in St. Louis, June 25th. If you are listening to this in the St. Louis area or anywhere near there, come to City Winery in St. Louis and check out a live with Nothing Personal, a Nothing Personal live with David Sampson episode. And then on July 1st, we'll see you in Chicago. Can't wait. So many of you give me movie suggestions, and I appreciate that. You give me documentary suggestions. Some of them are outrageous. Some of them are fun. I keep a list. I keep a list in the old phone. So many of you told me to watch American Nightmare, and so I did. I can't get to everything. Even 24 hours in a day is not enough. How much would it suck to be accused of doing something that you didn't do? And I know there are people out there who it's happened to. I know there's people who are incarcerated who are innocent. I understand the math. I know the system. But you feel as though that you have no chance. You can't possibly prove that you weren't somewhere or you didn't do something when people would say, well, it certainly would appear that you did that. American Nightmare is about a woman who gets kidnapped and her husband fiance is accused of doing it. This takes place like 30 miles outside San Francisco. The police department totally bungled it. The man was telling the truth. He's like, dude, someone came into my house and took her. I don't get it, but they took her. Seems crazy. Why would anyone want to be kidnapped? Well, she must be dead. We can't find her. And wait a minute, is that you? Turns out, spoiler alert, the husband didn't do it. This is a tight 3-episoder. Loved it. American Nightmare. I appreciate the suggestion. Those kind of shows do scare me, though. I try to let people know where I am, and not through Track My Location, but because I'm doing the show every day, so it's easy to know. If anything bad happens, like at 8:20 a.m. Eastern, it ain't me, because I'm here every day. I want to find a way to talk about this without you getting upset, any of you listening to this. And I don't want to be called a boomer at all. Yesterday was a low point for me. I called up Coca and said, I also spoke to Pablo about this yesterday. It's debilitating. I felt beat, dragged through the mud, furious. I was on Twitter and I saw a video of Angel Reese saying that it's on like Donkey Kong with Caitlin Clark next time she sees her. It's in sight or on sight or at sight or out of sight. Sounded like Angel Reese, looked like Angel Reese. Turns out it wasn't Angel Reese. It was totally made up. I sent it to Coca saying, hey, if this is real, this is a lead story. I can't believe Angel Reese is doing it. Nope. He said, fake. All right, what else? Coca, I'm about to go public with the fact that something happened to Joe Biden, with the fact that Joe Biden may have pooped his pants, that Joe Biden looks like he may croak during D-Day. What an embarrassment that the best we have is a guy who doesn't know where he is and a guy who has incontinence. And then it turns out the damn video was edited, and what Biden was doing was sitting in a chair. I'm so angry at the internet right now. You've given me so much. You've opened the world. You've gotten rid of Encyclopedia Britannicas. You've made it so my brain doesn't even debate for a minute before going to the Google and finding out what the truth is. I have more useful and useless information. I've seen more people on video. I've seen more idiocy than I ever dreamt of in my life. Is it too much to ask that the editing for the purpose of inciting goes away? Is that too much to ask? If you can't get your candidate to win by a video that's true, maybe your candidate shouldn't win. If you can't get clicks to your site or popularity without changing what it is you or someone else said, you're not that popular. The harm that is being done, and I consider myself one of the smart, I'm certainly top 50, the top 50% of smart people. That's not cocky to say, is it? I think I am. I'm bottom 50 in height and bottom 50 in weight and top 50 in smart. Come on, give me that. I get fooled every single day because it's that good. And this is compounded with 4 days ago, I get a call. A family member of mine was asked to pay 100 grand by a voice that sounded like her son, who was in jail and needed bail money. Spoiler alert. She said, I better double check. Turns out he wasn't in jail. Turns out he didn't need bail money. It turns out that someone stole his voice and used it to try to get his own mother to give 100 grand. How cynical do we all have to be now? How bad is it going to get? I'm there. And I got there yesterday at about 4:05 p.m. And believe me, by 4:20, I was happy again. But at 4:05, less than happy, telling Coca, I will not use the internet as a source of information. I will not be fooled, tricked, and treated that way again and insulted again. Why? Because it's entertaining? Go ahead and dance if you want on TikTok. That's entertaining. How about the Chicago Sky? Did you read all about that? The harassment that took place when a reporter asked Kennedy about the Caitlin Clark forearm shiver, the way Adam Silver was asked? I was all worked up and ready to go. And then the video got taken down. And the rumor was it was totally edited. And the voice wasn't the voice. And the harassment was greater than it was. I was ready to criticize the players, saying, man, you guys overreacted. You don't need security. This is just somebody asking a very simple question. And then I realized, well, wait a minute. Maybe I have it wrong. Maybe the video I saw was to convince everybody that, hey, there was no harassment, but it was totally made up, totally edited out of sequence, not shown what is true, what is not. Can you imagine being the victim of that? This is some Rising Sun type of stuff where they loop the video and change it like Mission Impossible to make it seem as though something's happening that's not. Ripping off your face and saying, oh, you're Tom Cruise, not John Voight. Funny how that works. If you do not think that this is dangerous, then you're just not paying attention. If you don't think that we need regulation, and I am not all for big government and big regulation, spoiler alert, but if you really think that you don't need to be protected, then your head is in the sand deeper than an ostrich on a summer day. I was furious, Coco. Absolutely furious. Nothing personal pick of the day. We had a 2-0 night last night. We had the Celtics 6.5 over the Mavs. How about the Bueller, Dodgers, Pirates? We told you the Dodgers would win. Bueller was mediocre with occasional doses of crap, but a win's a win's a win, and we are 79-86. We have got a big series starting today. Yankees, Dodgers. The Yankees may be without Soto. So 4-8-69. The Yankees may be without Soto. Do you want to hear what he directly had to say?
Any specific activities. It's kind of funny that it doesn't hurt me whenever I throw or hitting. It's more like soreness that I feel with any kind of move that I make with my arm. But definitely don't stop me for anything baseball wise in the field.
You know what that means? We're taking the Yankees. Now, Yamamoto is pitching for the Dodgers, so you would think to yourself, hey, this is a perfect opportunity to take the Dodgers. Well, this is a very big series, and the Yankees, with or without Soto, we're taking them over the Dodgers tonight. The Stanley Cup starts tomorrow. Can we talk some Stanley Cup? We got the Panthers, we got the Oilers. For those of you in the Levitard universe, all of the talk of Greg Cody and Connor McDavid. If you haven't seen Connor McDavid play yet, you're going to see him. I like the Panthers in this series, but I really like the Oilers getting 120 in game one. I think that each of these games between these opponents should be even minus 110, minus 110, or minus 105, minus 105. If you can find me the plus 120s, I may take it every single game. Edmonton Oilers, you may not have heard of them or know anything about them. Well, you probably know their most famous fan. If you know, you know. But we're taking the Oilers over the Panthers. What a moment for the Panthers if they can hoist the Stanley Cup in under 2 weeks' time. I want that so badly for Vinny Viola and Matthew Caldwell, the owner and president of the team. They have done so much for hockey in Florida. It was such a absolute hash line. It was nothing. And then they took over and they have made it something. Of course, it's hard to win, and they've done winning. We're going to take the Oilers in game one of the Stanley Cup. The other thing I'm going to watch tomorrow is we got the Phillies and the Mets playing in that London series. For MLB, ideally, it would be a split. Sometimes the mini sweeps happen, but the Phillies are just a far superior team. It's not even close. We're taking the Phillies over the Mets also on Saturday for game one of the London series. And my last pick is Sunday will be game two of the NBA. You didn't think I would not give you a pick for game two. How have the Celtics done in game twos? Loss, Pacers won. Not cover, not cover. I'm going to say against the Pacers, they may have covered game two. Doesn't matter. The Mavs are getting 7. 7 points. They got 6.5 yesterday. You'd think that's not enough. They lost by 169 points. The Mavericks are a good team. Celtics are better, but game two, important. Mavericks. They may not win it, but it's going to be a better game. Mavericks +7 versus the Celtics. So our picks for the weekend, you've got Yankees over the Dodgers Friday, Phillies over the Mets Saturday, Mavs getting 7 versus the Celtics Sunday, and then the Oilers winning the game outright, game one of the Stanley Cup on Saturday. Let's end the week having some fun. Pablo Torre may not cover this. Pablo Torre with his anonymous sources. Who knows what he'll cover, what he won't cover, what he'll find out, what he won't find out. He did an episode about A-Rod and Mark Lore and the whole Minnesota Timberwolves ownership situation and the craziness that is. We've covered it because it's so much fun to talk about A-Rod and how desperate he is to own a team and how he's willing to fight for years and years and years and sit in the front row and clap and go to road games and cheer on Minnesota and hug Anthony Edwards on the court. He's his guy. All of it makes me laugh. Everything A-Rod does, everything is purposeful. It's all about his image. They're in the middle of a mediation that didn't work, that has now segued into an arbitration against Glenn Taylor, the owner of the Timberwolves. That Glenn Taylor, the octogenarian current owner, said, you know what? I'd rather not sell to you. You know what, A-Rod? You don't have the money. A-Rod said, I do have the money. I swear to God, I've got it. Look, it's a subscription agreement. A subscription agreement is a promise for someone to give an amount of money to someone else. I subscribe. You've got 30 days to cancel. Automatically renewable every 25 days. Your credit card will be charged. The arbitration will be about many issues. Go watch the PTFO episode if you want, or listen to it here. Whether or not the issue of A-Rod and Mark Lowry having the ability to close on the deal to buy the Timberwolves, whether they were ready to close on time, whether there was an issue with either of those two facts, arbitrators will figure it out. Adam Silver's sitting this one out. He's waiting for the arbitration to happen. Yesterday, for whatever reason, A-Rod said, hey, here's a good thing that we should get out there. Michael Bloomberg is joining our group. He's going to help fund the last $300 million that we need to buy the Timberwolves from Glenn Taylor. They had just argued before the arbitration that they had all the money. So now they're saying, oh, well, now we've got Michael Bloomberg. How great is that? Let me explain what you're not going to read elsewhere. Michael Bloomberg joining the A-Rod group. Query, it will be an entity. That's like Bruce Sherman saying that Michael Dell owns the Marlins. Not true. It's an entity. It's a Michael Dell entity. Michael Bloomberg has a gazillion entities. I will bet you dollars to donuts that Michael Bloomberg, the individual, is not investing in the Timberwolves. Dollars to donuts. But anyway, the investment comes in. My guess is this is much ado about a laughter. What Bloomberg is doing is helping lay off some of the money that was promised to be put in by A-Rod and Mark Lowry. A-Rod doesn't have that amount of money, even though he tries to tell everyone he does, to take a sizable bulk of the $300 million tranche that is required to close the T-Wolves transaction. But you can tell someone, it's like making a bet. You make a $100 bet, and then you go to your friends, hey, do you want $20 of that action? You want $20 of that? All right, now my total is only $60 I'm in for. According to the person you made the bet with, you're in for $100. According to Glenn Taylor, A-Rod's in for $300. Glenn Taylor doesn't give a flying rat's pituitary gland if A-Rod's in for $300 or A-Rod's in for $1, and he gets Bloomberg and all of his friends to be in for $299,999,000. Do you see the difference? For the arbitration purposes, A-Rod and Mark Lowry have to prove that the money was there and it was there on time. It doesn't matter that at a later date they take on other partners or they lay off part of their investment. There's many owners who do that. Jeffrey Lurie is trying to sell limited partnerships in the Eagles. John Fisher is trying to sell limited partnerships in the Oakland A's. It's totally normal to take some money off the table, to lay off part of your investment. But why have it come out now? It's not benefiting you in the mediation. It's not benefiting you in the arbitration. It's not benefiting you in the court of public opinion. Oh, you've got a big, deep pocket. Maybe we're going to sign extra players. It's total and complete horse hockey. And what you're reading about this transaction is that having Bloomberg on board, that means they're ready to go forward. No, it doesn't. They had to be ready to go forward at the end of March, or else there would be no arbitration. There would have been an immediate ruling. Glenn Taylor keeps the team. A-Rod and Mark Lowry violated the terms of the original sale agreement. They were not ready. Adding Bloomberg, totally irrelevant. And it's not that he was added today or added yesterday. All of it makes no sense to me how these things get reported. So, a message to A-Rod and Mark Lowry. It's nice that Bloomberg or one of his affiliate entities is now involved in your team. But when you're testifying during the arbitration, don't expect him to be sitting there, number one. And two, don't think that it will in any way influence the decision made by the arbitrators. Wholly irrelevant. Why? Because the arbitrators are looking at this from one standpoint. It's just business. Have yourself a great weekend. We'll be back. This is nothing personal.